think she was talking about the killing.
When they kill
Just
the
in-
oldest male.
No. That's, you don't kill your oldest son. You dedicate him to the Lord. You kill the Passover lamb. You're not killing your own children.
And isn't it that if you have a small family, then you would go into your neighbors and share the lamb to eat?
Correct.
Okay.
Or you would probably go to your in-laws and keep it within your own family, basically.
If you're friendly.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, but he still does.
Your Jewish mother-in-law will make sure you're at the table.
So there was no designation if you only had daughters, you didn't have to, okay.
No.
About safety to work.
I mean, you're still part of a family. Even if it's not your own generation, you would simply step back into another. But no, you don't have to have sons to be held to all the regulations of the faith.
So if you have a daughter first, you don't dedicate her to the Lord, just the first son.
The first son. That's what her question was. If you only have daughters,
Mine was
That's
about
You
the
would-
Passover.
you would.
Well, that's not it still.
Right, she's saying, yes, there's two things in question here. You dedicate your oldest son, but Passover is required of each household. It may look different based upon the ordinances of it if you do not have a son at the table, but you still are required to do it. All families have to do it,
This is before the Passover.
okay?
I tried that once, having dinner like that,
Mhm.
didn't go over too good.
The recipes didn't turn out that well, I guess.
So back
I wasn't invited.
You were not invited.
Oh yeah, she was little, they were all little. Oh,
So we're still not talking, still we're talking about.
Okay, take us back.
We were
Take
talking
us back.
about, the death of the firstborn at midnight. So if you just had a daughter that was your firstborn,
but it was the firstborn male.
right, but only, if you only had daughters, did you still have to bark your door and have, or were your children killed? Or was it just the males that were killed?
Let's go back to the actual,
Where are you? Tell me where it's going.
29.
oh wait, I went back too far.
No, chapter 12.
Yeah, yeah.
Says firstborn, it doesn't say male or female.
Okay, chapter 11.
No, it's Exodus 12.
I know, but I want to go back.
Chapter 11.
Then the Lord told Moses, one more plague will I bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. After that, he will let you depart. He will not merely let you go, he'll drive you away. Every man is to ask his neighbor and every woman her neighbor, articles of clothing, etc., etc. At midnight I will go forth. So this is verse 4. At midnight I will go forth through Egypt. Every firstborn in this land shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh on the throne to the firstborn of the slave girl at the handmill, as well as all the firstborn of the animals. So the striking down of the firstborn is regardless of male or female.
That's what I wanted to, that's what I said. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that's what you were trying to get at. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to where we left off until we're done at 3:30. Verse 22. Then Moses led Israel forward from the Red Sea, and they marched out to the desert of Shur. After traveling for 3 days through the desert without finding water, they arrived at Marah, where they could not drink the water because it was too bitter. Hence this place was called Marah, as the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "What are we to drink?" He appealed to the Lord, who pointed out to him a certain piece of wood. When he threw this into the water became fresh. It was here that the Lord, in making rules and regulations for them, put them to the test. If you really listen to the voice of the Lord your God, he told them, and do what is right in his eyes, If you heed his commandments and keep all his precepts, I will not inflict you with any of the diseases with which I afflicted the Egyptians, for I, the Lord, am your healer. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped near the water. So they find a little oasis in the middle of things to give them a little break. The desert of Sin. Having set out from Elim, the whole Israelite community came into the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departure from the land of Egypt. So they've been out here several months now, okay, in the desert. Here in the desert, the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "Would that we had died at the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt as we sat by our flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. But you had to lead us into this desert to make the whole community die of famine." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will now rain down bread from heaven for you. Each day the people are to go out and gather their daily portion. Thus will I test them to see whether they will follow my instructions or not. On the 6th day, however, when they prepare what they bring in, let it be twice as much as they gather on the other days." So Moses and Aaron told all the Israelites, "At evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord as he heeds your grumbling against him. But what are we that you should grumble against us? When the Lord gives you flesh to eat in the evening," continued Moses, "and in the morning your fill of bread, as he heeds the grumbling you utter against him, what then are we? Your grumbling is not against us, but it is against the Lord." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Tell the whole Israelite community, present yourselves before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling." When Aaron announced this to the whole Israelite community, they turned toward the desert, and lo, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. The Lord spoke to Moses and said, "I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them in the evening twilight you shall eat flesh, and in the morning you shall have your fill of bread, so that you may know that I, the Lord, am your God." In the evening, quail came up and covered the camp. In the morning, a dew lay all about the camp. And when the dew evaporated, there on the surface of the desert were fine flakes like hoarfrost on the ground. On seeing it, the Israelites asked one another, "What is this?" For they did not know what it was. But Moses told them, "This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat." Probably the best thing to have in your mind in terms of the manna, as it will be called, is cornflakes. Heavy dew. When the sun comes up and dries it off, it gets crunchy, crispy, so to speak. If you don't like cornflakes, you can do frosted flakes. Okay? But that gives you a sense of what they're gathering it up, and you fill a pot, and then you've got something to eat. And in the night, the quail come. So you have roasted quail, which is not a bad thing, I guess. Regulations regarding the manna. This is interesting. Verse 16. "Now this is what the Lord has commanded. So gather it that everyone has enough to eat. An omer for each person." An omer is a measurement. We'll hear that again. Okay? "An omer for each person, as many of you there are, each man providing for those in his own tent." The Israelites did so. Some gathered a large and some a small amount. But when they measured it out by the omer, he who had gathered a large amount did not have too much, and he who had gathered a small amount did not have too little. They so gathered, and everyone had enough to eat. Moses also told them, "Let no one keep any of it over until tomorrow morning." But they would not listen to him. When some kept a part of it over until the following morning, it became wormy and rotten. Therefore Moses was displeased with them. What's happening here? Say again, Mary?
They're afraid they won't get any more, so they're trying to save what they have. And that was against what Moses had told them to do.
Correct. But again, human nature being human nature, like, what if this doesn't happen every night? What if this doesn't happen every morning? I'm just going to put a little, come on. We would do that.
Yeah.
We would do that. We have to be honest. We're like, okay, we're getting the system now. but we got a little extra here. We're just going to put that aside just until we see what. And the point of that is, it's not just that they're saving food. What is the point of this? They're not trusting. God is providing every morning and every evening, every morning and every evening, every morning and every evening. And they're like, but what about if it doesn't happen? And so it's about trusting that God will continue to provide. Okay? So whatever they have kept, it gets bad overnight. Therefore, Moses was displeased with them. Okay? 21. Morning after morning they gathered it, till each had enough to eat. But when the sun grew hot, the manna melted away. On the 6th day they gathered twice as much food, 2 omers for each person. When all the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses, he told them, "This is what the Lord prescribed. Tomorrow is a day of complete rest, the Sabbath, sacred to the Lord. You may either bake or boil the manna as you please, but whatever is left put away and keep for the morrow." When they put it away for the morrow as Moses commanded, it did not become rotten or wormy. Moses then said, "Eat it today, for today is the Sabbath of the Lord. On this day you will not find any of it on the ground. On the other 6 days you can gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, none of it will be there." Still on the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather it, although they did not find any. Then the Lord said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to keep my commandments and laws? Take note, the Lord has given you the Sabbath. This is why on the 6th day he gives you food for 2 days. On the 7th day everyone is to stay home and no one is to go out." After that the people rested on the 7th day. The Israelites called this food manna. It was like coriander seed, but white, and it tasted like wafers made with honey. See, I told you it was Frosted Flakes. Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Keep an omer full of manna for your descendants, that they may see what food I gave you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of the land of Egypt." Moses then told Aaron, "Take an urn and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord in safekeeping for your descendants." So Aaron placed it in front of the commandments for safekeeping as the Lord had commanded Moses. The Israelites ate this manna for 40 years until they came to settled land. They ate manna until they reached the borders of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Now you know. Okay. This went on for a long time, based upon the text.
40 years.
At number 40 again.
Yep. 40 is going to be one of those prime numbers, one of those sacred numbers. Okay? I think we have time for one more story. And then we'll call it a day.
And probably the life expectancy wasn't all that much longer than 40 years.
40 years is considered a generation because that's what the life expectancy was. If you got beyond 40, you were doing good. At least eventually. But keep in mind, Moses is already in his 80s based upon the text.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Chapter 17. From the desert of Sin, the whole Israelite community journeyed by stages, as the Lord directed, and encamped at Rephidim. Here there was no water for the people to drink. They quarreled therefore with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" Here then, in their thirst for water, the people grumbled against Moses, saying, "Why did you ever make us leave Egypt? Was it just to have us die here of thirst with our children and our livestock?" So Moses again cried out to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? A little more, and they will stone me." The Lord answered Moses, "Go over there in front of the people, along with some of the elders of Israel, holding in your hand as you go the staff with which you struck the river. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock in Horeb. Strike the rock, and the water will flow from it for the people to drink." This Moses did in the presence of the elders of Israel. The place was called Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled there and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord in our midst or not?" Okay? I can't believe you let me get away with this. We just glossed right through and nobody picked up on it. You got to catch me on these things, people. Go back to verse 33. Moses told Aaron, take an urn, put an omer of manna in it, then place it before the Lord in safekeeping for your descendants. So Aaron placed it in front of the commandments for safekeeping, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Hello? Do we have the commandments yet? No. This is obviously being written at a time when they already have the commandments that they're holding on to, and the manna is being put with that. I glossed through it and you let me gloss through it. Shame on y'all. Okay? Verse 8. At Rephidim, Amalek came and waged war against Israel. Moses therefore said to Joshua, pick out certain men and tomorrow go out and engage Amalek in battle. We heard this about 6 weeks ago, by the way. I will be standing on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses told him. He engaged Amalek in battle after Moses had climbed to the top of the hill with Aaron and Hur. As long as Moses kept his hands raised up, Israel had the better of the fight. But when he let his hands rest, Amalek had the better of the fight. Moses' hands, however, grew tired, so they put a rock in place for him to sit on. Meanwhile, Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. And Joshua mowed down Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this down in a document as something to be remembered, and recite it in the ears of Joshua. I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. Moses also built an altar there, which he called Yahweh Nisi, for he said, the Lord takes in hand his banner. The Lord will war against Amalek through the centuries. What does that statement mean? The Lord takes in hand his banner. The Lord will war against Amalek through the centuries. What does that mean?
That there will always be conflict.
More than that, whoever comes against the nation of Israel, the Lord will always fight for Israel, against them. So Amalek, this is the first battle we've come to, right?
Yeah.
So Amalek, in a sense, stands in position as any force that comes against the Israelites. The Lord will be close by to take care of it.
Still happening today.
Huh?
Still happening today.
In lots of different ways. Is it 3:30 yet?
5 more minutes.
Okay, just time for a family reunion. I like it. Before we jump into the holidays here. We're even going to hear about in-laws, for heaven's sakes. How perfect is that? Chapter 18. Now Moses' father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. So his father-in-law Jethro took along Zipporah, Moses' wife, whom Moses had sent back to him, and her 2 sons. One of these was called Gershom, for he said, I am a stranger in a foreign land. Have we heard this before?
Yeah.
Yes. This is just recapping, if you will. The other was called Eleazar, for he said, my father's God is my helper. He has rescued me from Pharaoh's sword. Together with Moses' wife and sons. Then his father-in-law Jethro came to meet him in the desert, where he was encamped near the mountain of God. And he sent word to Moses. So in other words, when Moses was busy doing all this, where was his family? Back with his father-in-law. It addresses Zipporah and his 2 sons who are back. They're not part of this whole picture. And it's gone on for years. It's gone on for years. So he continues. I, Jethro, your father-in-law, am coming to you, along with your wife and her 2 sons, who I've been supporting for years. No, I just didn't. Come on, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, bowed down before him, and kissed him. Having greeted each other, they went into the tent. Moses then told his father-in-law of all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for the sake of Israel, and of all the hardships they had to endure on their journey, and how the Lord had come to their rescue. Jethro rejoiced over all the goodness of the Lord had shown Israel in rescuing them from the hands of the Egyptians. Blessed be the Lord, he said, who has rescued his people from the hands of Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is a deity great beyond any other, for he took occasion of their being dealt with insolently to deliver the people from the power of the Egyptians. Then Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses, brought a holocaust and other sacrifices to God. And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to participate with Moses, father-in-law, in the meal before the Lord. Yeah, we gotta get to the mountain. The next day Moses sat in judgment for the people who waited about him from morning until evening. When his father-in-law saw all that he was doing for his people, he inquired, "What sort of thing is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone while all the people have to stand about you from morning till evening?" Moses answered his father-in-law, "The people come to me to consult God. Whenever they have a disagreement, they come to me to have me settle the matter between them and to make known to them God's decision and regulations." "You are not acting wisely," his father-in-law replied, as father-in-laws might do sometimes. "You will surely wear yourself out, and not only yourself, but also these people with you. The task is too heavy for you. You cannot do it alone. Now listen to me, and I will give you some good advice, that God may be with you. Act as the people's representative before God, bringing to him whatever they have to say. Enlighten them in regard to the decisions and regulations, showing them how they are to live and what they are to do. But you should also look among all the people for able and God-fearing men, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and set them as officers over groups of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. Let these men render decisions for the people in all ordinary cases. More important cases they should refer to you, but all the lesser cases they can settle themselves. Thus your burden will be lightened, since they will bear it with you. If you do this, when God gives you orders, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses followed the advice of his father-in-law and did all that he had suggested. He picked out able men from all Israel and put them in charge of the people as officers over groups of thousands of husbands and fifties and of tens. They rendered decisions for the people in all ordinary cases. The more difficult cases they referred to Moses, but all the lesser cases they settled themselves. Then Moses bade farewell to his father-in-law, who went off to his own country. A little fatherly advice that decided to work out. So this is the creation of what will eventually be called judges. Okay? Military leaders who also help settle issues within the people. Okay? Any questions over anything today?
I have a question.
We're leaving you at the foot of Mount Sinai. And what's going to happen on Mount Sinai? We will get the commandments of the Lord. So that will be a good place for us to pick up. But we will not pick up here until after Christmas.
No,
Because-
Thanksgiving.
No.
Oh,
Because in December, I want to do some different work that will get us ready for the holiday. So we'll pick this up in the new year. Okay? Mary?
When Jethro appears after all this time.
Yes, he's got to be pretty old.
Moses was in the desert for 40 years. Was his family all back with Jethro? all that
According to the
time?
text. Now, it does say later, it said earlier today that this was going on for 40 years.
Yes.
Is that projecting forward? That it, in other words, the manna happened the entire time and this is happening in the midst of it? Most would say yes, this is happening in the midst of it. So the manna and the quail happened for 40 years till they're ready to take possession of the land, but this is a flashback of something that happens within that. Because later on the text will again take them right to the promised land after 40 years.
Because his children would have been adults or middle-aged.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So we don't know specifically, but this is happening somewhere on the way to that border of the Canaan, the land of Canaan, so to speak. Yes, Judy?
Was this an actual 40 years, or could it have just been a biblical figurative figure?
Who knows?
Somewhere around 40, give or take.
A long time
Yeah.
to carry your tents.
It's a long time to fit a carry of 10, that's right. Anything else? How about, oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know, I always heard that when he strikes the rock, he doubts God, and instead of striking it once, he strikes it twice to get the water, which is one of the reasons he was punished. But I don't see that in here, is there?
We'll get to that one.
Okay.
There's more than one
Oh.
gushing water from rock situation, so. Okay. Anything else? Have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family. We'll see you in church, I'm sure, along the way, and we'll come back together on December 2nd. And we're going to jump into Isaiah, because Isaiah is considered the messianic prophet. And so we'll kind of lay the groundwork in Advent. And then we're also going to play with the text that establishes Hanukkah for our Jewish friends and neighbors who'll be celebrating that. And then the last time we meet on the 16th, just so you can be prepared. If we want to bring lots of goodies and make it a little Christmas party, that's wonderful. But we're going to go into Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John to actually read what it says about the birth of Jesus. So that will be fun. Because we typically only get one version for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So we'll kind of make a comparison of what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and how they deal with the Christmas situation. Okay?
Okay.
So, see you on the 2nd, and then we'll go from here. Thank you.
See you on the second.
Thank you.